Alright guys, welcome to another video. Like always, please make sure you have some headphones, make sure that you have a writing utensil, and make sure that you have your packet right in front of you. Okay, so these questions for this packet are all over data. Okay, so it's all about everything we've been learning. It's just like the final wrap to it. Okay, that way on Monday, when you come back, we can just go ahead and begin our last unit. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with A. So please make sure you're writing everything I'm writing and just sticking to it, and make sure you're listening as well. Okay, all right, so it says A, create a dot plot to represent the data. So what they do is that they give us, oh, did my pen turn off? Okay. What they do is that they give us this section right here of fractions. Okay, so we need to put all of these fractions onto the dot plot. Okay, so we're gonna read it one by one, and we're gonna make sure that we put a dot above each one that we read. Okay, so for the first fraction, we have 1/4. Okay, so we need to go to 1/4 on the number line, which is right here. 1/4 is right there, and we're gonna put a dot above that. So far this shows that we have 1/4, and I'm gonna mark it out to show that we have already read it and we have already put the data onto the dot plot. Okay, now my next fraction is 5/8. So I'm gonna go to my table, my dot plot, and I'm gonna go to 5/8 and I'm gonna put a dot above it. Okay, and I'm gonna mark out 5/8 to show that I've already read it. Next one is 1/4. So make sure you put another dot on 1/4, mark it out. Then we have a 1/4 again, so write another dot above it, mark it out. 7/8, go to 7/8, and you're gonna put a dot above that, mark it out. 3/8, find 3/8, you're gonna put a dot above that, mark it out. 1/2, so go to 1/2 and put a dot above that, mark it out. 7/8 again, so we're gonna put a second dot above 7/8 and mark it out. 1/4, another 1/4, put another dot above that, mark it out. And 3/4, so put a dot above 3/4 and mark it out. So far for this problem, we are done with A. We have already put all our fractions onto our dot plot, and now it represents the data another way. Okay, now we can see that there is 4 1/4, 1 3/8, 1 1/2, 1 5/8, 1 3/4, and 2 7/8. Okay, so it's just an easy way to see data. All right, let's go to B. So on B, it's the same process. They give us a bunch of numbers, or decimals in this case, and they want us to plot it onto the stem and leaf plot. Okay, so I'm gonna take it step by step. I'm gonna make sure that I mark what I see as I go. Okay, so the first number is 3/6. Okay, I'm looking right here. So I'm gonna go to my stem and leaf chart, and I'm gonna first read my key. My key is telling me that a number slash, right here, now remember that's a slash, not a 1. A number slash another number means it's a decimal. Okay, so if you want to help you remember, all of these are decimals. Okay, all right, so I am looking to plot 3/6 onto my stem and leaf chart. So I'm gonna go to 3, my 3's, and I'm gonna make sure there's a 6 on the leaf side, and there is. So I'm gonna put a dot on the bottom of it, and I'm gonna mark out my top one on my data. Okay, so what that shows me, let me use a different color so it doesn't confuse you. I'm gonna put a dot under it and mark it out as I go. Okay, so what that shows me is that they have already plotted that. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next one. I have 4.0. So I'm gonna go to my stem and leaf chart, and I see 4.0. So I'm gonna put a dot underneath that to show that it does have it on there, and I'm gonna mark it out. Now 5.2. Now I don't see 5 on my stem side, so that box on the stem side that is empty probably represents my 5. Now I do read 5.2 now. Okay, so you can mark it out. Now my next one is 4.1. Now I see 4.1 right there. Okay, so I'm gonna mark it out. 3.4, I do have 3.4 on there. Mark it out. 3.8. Now I don't have 3.8. So this box right here is missing an 8. Now we have 3.8. Mark it out. 5.9. I have 5.2, but I don't have 5.9. So add a 9 in this box and mark it out. Next one is 4.0. Now we have already marked out one of the zeros. That means we have already used it. But whenever you have two, you have to make sure you have to put the second one. So that in that box, we're missing a second 0. Okay? So now we have it. We can mark it out. Now the last one is 4.5. Now on the 4s, the only one I'm missing is 4.5. So go ahead and add your 5 in that last box. And you can mark it out. Okay? So this one was kind of challenging in a way. I know for some students it's going to be a little challenging because I know sometimes it can be kind of tricky to read decimals on a stem and leaf chart. Okay? But we did it and we have put all the data onto the stem and leaf. Okay? If I'm moving too fast, please make sure you pause the video and you can catch up. All right. So let's go to our next problem. So on this problem, it says, a Mediterranean food truck recorded the number of orders of each type of bowl as shown in the table. Which bar graph represents the data? So what they give us is this section right here. This is the real information, okay? This is what the numbers have to be. Now, what they want us to do is apply them to the bar graphs and see which one is correct, okay? We're looking for the one that is real, the one that has the real numbers. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. Now, mine is blurry, but yours is a lot clearer than mine. Just the digital version is kind of blurry for me. So we are looking at A, and on A, I'm just going to label my bar graphs. So for greens is right here, so we are at 60. Grains is the next one. Grains is at 80. And mixed is right in between, and that represents 70. Okay. So looking at my bar graph and looking at the pink box, are the numbers correct? So mixed is correct, grains is correct, but greens is incorrect. It is not true. It has to be 50, but on our bar graph we show 60. So this one is out. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So go to B. I'm going to zoom in. Again, mine is blurry, so again, just look at your paper. It's probably much clearer than mine. So on greens, we show it's in between, so that tells us it's 70. Grains is 80, and mixed is 50. Okay, so if I look back at my data, I know that greens has to be 50, so this is wrong. Grains has to be 80, which it is. Mixed is 50, and that is incorrect. Okay, so we have 2 wrong on this one. This one is not correct. Remember, we are looking for the ones that have all 3 numbers correct in the correct places. Okay, all right, let's go to C. So for greens, we show 50. For grains, we show 80. For mixed, we show 70. So let's look at our data. I'm going to zoom out so you can see it as at the same time. So we show greens is correct, it's 50. Grains is 80, good. And mixed is 70, good. So it looks like all 3 of these data points are labeled correctly on the bar graph and they match what we have. Okay, so far C is looking the strongest. Okay. But let's go ahead and go back to D and make sure. Greens is 50. Grains is 90. Mixed is 80. So I can already tell these numbers are off. Okay. So I know greens is correct. Grains is incorrect. And mixed is incorrect. So that leaves us to the answer choice C. C is the only one that matches the pink box. It's the only one that shows the same numbers as the pink box. Okay? All right. Number 2. Okay, now just so you know, just a little heads up, these numbers these numbers are all over the place. Some, you're fixing to see, some go from like 2 to 16 to 11 to 5 to 12. It's just scattered everywhere. Okay, all right, but if you stick with the video, you should be fine. 2. The scatter plot shows the number of loops a roller coaster made and the number of minutes several people spent waiting in line. Which of the following statements is not true? Okay, so we are only going to have one false statement. So we are going to have 3 truths and 1 false. So that is how you're going to know if you did it right or wrong. Okay. All right, so I'm going to read the statements and we're going to go see if they are true or false. So the first one says, true or false? A person waited in line for 45 minutes for a roller coaster that made 8 loops. So I'm going to go ahead and look for 45 minutes and 8 loops. Okay, so I have 8 loops here and I have 45 minutes here. It says a person did that. Is that true? Yeah, there's a dot right there. That shows that, yeah, someone actually did that. They waited 45 minutes for a roller coaster that did 8 loops. So this is true. Okay. All right, next one. True or false? 3 people waited 30 minutes in line. So that's all they told us. So we know that there's 3 people and we know that it's a 30-minute line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my time. My time is on this side. It's on my y-axis. I'm going to go to 30. So if you see, I'm counting by 15s. So this is 0, this is 15, and this is 30. Okay, this number right here is 30. So for 30 minutes, it needs to show 3 people. So I'm going to change my highlighter color. And I'm going to extend it all the way down. On the orange line, is there 3 people? Or 3 dots that represent people? Yeah. Okay, so this is a true statement. There's 3 people that waited 30 minutes, exactly. Okay, next one. 5, oh, I don't know why it says person. 5 people waited in line for 105 minutes. So we're going to go do the same thing. We're going to go to 105, which is all the way up here. I'm going to change my color. And I'm extend it. And do you see 5 dots on the green line? No. Okay, so this is a false statement. So we might have already found the only one that is false. Okay. That's going to bother me, so I'm going to mark it out. 5 people. All right, next one, true or false? A person waited in line for 60 minutes for a roller coaster that made 6 loops. Okay, so I'm going to change my color one more time. Let's do blue. We haven't done that one. So it says 60 minutes and it made 6 loops. So I'm going to find my 60 minutes. Again, we're counting by 15. So this is 15, 30, 45, 60. This line right here is 60. So we're looking for 60 minutes and 6 loops. So here's 6 loops. Here's 60 minutes. Does it show 1 person there? Yep, it sure does. So this is true. Okay. All right, and that is it for number 2. We found our false statement, which was the 5 people waited in line for 105 minutes. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Next question. A bar graph represents the 5th grade students' favorite special classes last school year. Use the bar graph to answer questions 3 through 4. So we have 2 questions about this bar graph. So first things first, anytime they give you a bar graph, always label it. So first, I'm going to look at my numbers. It looks like we're counting by 5s because this is 35 blank, 45 blank, 55, and so on. So I think it goes like this: 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. All right, so I'm going to label my graph. Art shows 70. Music shows 55. And gym shows 75. Okay. All right, so I labeled all my data. Now let's answer 3. How many students did not select art as their favorite class? So the only ones that would tell me that is both music and gym. Music people and gym people obviously did not choose art as their favorite class. So what we're going to do is we're going to add those two numbers. So what I'm going to do is 55 plus 75. Okay? All right? And you are going to find that answer yourself. If I were you, I would stack it. Okay? All right, 4. What fraction, so go ahead and box that. That way we make sure we have it in fraction style. What fraction of the students chose art as their favorite class? So how many people chose art? 70, okay? So when we're putting it into a fraction, you have to remember that on the bottom of the fraction, the total always has to be there. So 70 is only the number for how many people chose art, okay? 70 people chose art. That does not represent the total amount of students that voted, okay? So 70 needs to go on top of the fraction. The bottom of the fraction represents your total. Okay, so I'm going to put, how can I write this? I'm going to put parentheses, total, and I'm going to point somehow there. Okay, so my total, I'm going to add it all up. So I'm going to do 70 plus 55 plus 75. Okay, so I'm going to do that to the side. 70 plus 75 plus 55. 5 plus 5 is 10. 7 plus 7 is 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we get 200 after adding it all. Okay, so 200 is my bottom number. All right, so now I'm going to have to simplify that to get my answer. But I'm going to let you do that, okay? I have already kind of structured it for you. You basically have to see which golden number is going to work for both cases. Okay, you're going to simplify twice. And then after you simplify twice, you should get A, B, C, or D. Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. Choose the biggest one possible. Okay. If you choose the biggest one possible, you should be able to solve it in 2 steps. If you choose the smaller one, it is not going to finish in 2 steps. You're going to have to do more steps than that. Okay? So I'm going to have you do basically 3 and 4 by yourself. I'm not going to give you the answers to these, but I did provide structure. Okay, so that should be helpful. All right, next one. So 5, I'm going to zoom a little closer. The stem and leaf plot below shows the long jump distance of Max's track team measured in meters. What is the difference, here's a keyword, between the longest and the shortest distance? Okay, so difference means subtraction. So we're going to subtract the longest and the shortest, like it says right here. So the longest one, well, first, let's make sure we read our key. I almost skipped that step. So it's very important that you read it because it's going to tell you if it's going to be a whole number in the hundreds, a decimal, a fraction. It's going to tell you all the details. So in this case, it's telling us it's decimal. So if it helps you, once again, make sure you write a decimal right there in between. Okay, so we're going to get the longest. The longest is 5.2. Okay, I found that by looking at the stem that has the biggest number, which is 5, and the leaf on 5, that is the biggest. Okay, that's the furthest to the right. So that's 5.2. And I'm getting the shortest. So I'm going to go back to my stems, and I'm going to look for the smallest number, which is 2. And I'm going to find the smallest leaf to it. So it's 8. So it's 2.8. Now remember, when you're subtracting or adding decimals, always make sure that you line up your decimal. Okay, so I'm going to do 5.2 minus 2.8. Okay, now I already set it up for you. You're just going to go ahead and finish it up by subtracting. Okay, If you need more time, just go ahead and pause the video and try to finish that yourselves. All right, 6. The dot plot shows the number of students absent from Jayla's class the past several days. What is the difference, there's that word again, between the number of days that had fewer than 4? Oh, that's important. Okay, so fewer than 4. And the number of days that had 4 or more students absent. Okay, so I know that I have 2 different groups. Okay, I have fewer than 4, and I have 4 or more. The one that is including 4 is this one. It says 4 or more. So that means this is 4 or more. So this is one section, and this is my other section. This is less than 4. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is count my dots for each one. So I'm going to start with the green side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is 10. And on my red side, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So remember, we are looking for the difference between these 2 groups. Okay, so what you're going to do is 10 minus 6. Okay, you find out what your answer is. All right, next one. Okay, the table below shows the number of puzzles several students completed and the minutes they spent working on the puzzles. Which scatter plot, oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Which scatter plot correctly represents the data in the table? So, same process. We are going to be taking all of this information in this chart and we are going to be applying it to the scatter plots on A, B, C, and D. And we're going to see which one has them labeled correctly. Okay, so once again, I'm going to make sure that I do it one by one, and I'm going to take it a step at a time to make sure that we find the correct one. All right, so just a reminder, top on the table like this, your top always represents your X, and the bottom always represents your Y. Now remember, this means that the top is how much you go right, or some of you like this, where you run. Okay. The Y represents how much you go up or how much you jump. It's the same thing, it's just different words. So you can go right and up or run and jump, okay, whichever you prefer. All right, so I'm gonna do this first set. It says run 1 and go up to 25. So I'm gonna run to 1 and I'm gonna go up to 25. All right, perfect. I have a dot there. So make sure that A, B, C, and D all have a dot right there. So this works. I'm going to put a check mark so I know that I'm doing it correctly. There's one right here. It's correct. There's one right here. It's correct. So far they're all good. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my table and mark it out so to show that I've already covered that data. All right, next number. It says 5 and 250. So run to 5. And jump up to 250. So I'm going to go to 5 and I'm going to go up to 250, which there is a dot right there. So make sure there's a dot in every single corner. So this is good. This is good. This is good. And this is good. Okay, they all have a dot right there. All right, so I'm going to mark it out to show I've done it. 2 and 125 is the next set. So go right 2 and go up to 125. So I'm going to change my color so I don't confuse y'all. Run a 2 and go up to 125. And I sure do. I have a dot right there. Okay, run a 2 and go up to 125. Yep. Run the 2 and go up to 125. Yes. Run a 2 and go up to 125. Yes. All right, so this one's good. Mark it out. All right, next set is 150. Go right 1 and go up to 50. Now, there's no dot here. So this one is already wrong because it should have a dot there. All right, let's look at the next one. Run 1, go up to 50. Yep, this shows it. Run 1, go up to 50. Yes. Run 1, go up to 50. Yes. Okay, so far B, C, and D are looking strong. Okay, mark it out. Next set is 3 and 200. So run to 3 and go up to 200. So I'm going to change my color one more time. 3 and go up to 200. And yes, there is a dot right there. 3 and go up to 200. Yes. 3 and go up to 200. Yes. So far they all have this one as well. Or B, C, and D do. Now, next one is 4 and 175. So 4 and 175. Yes, this satisfies it. 4 and 175. Yes. 4 and 175. Yes, they all have it too. All right, so this is the deal breaker. They have to have 3 and 100. So let me change my color. I know I reset it the last time, but it's okay. 3 and up to 100. Nope, no dot right there. Mark it out. 3 and up to 100. And no, I don't have a dot right there. You're out too. And 3 and up to 100. And yes. So D is the only one that shows all of them correct. Okay, so this is how you do problems like this. Yes, it takes a long time, but if you count every single data point and you check it to see if it's placed correctly, you should always get the right answer. Okay? All right, next one. Big Texas Water Park records their daily visitors by age. The frequency table shows the number of visitors for each age range who visited the park in July. Use the table to answer questions 13 to 14. So we're going to count the tally marks. Okay. So the first one is 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. The second one shows 5, 10, 15, 20, 22. The third one shows 5, 10, 15, 20, 21. Next one, 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. Next one, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So those are the numbers for the tally marks. Now let's answer our questions. How many visitors were in the age ranges with the 2 highest frequencies? So what are the 2 biggest numbers? It's here and it's here. Okay, so it wants to know how many visitors were within that age range. So basically, they just want you to add both numbers. Okay, so I'm going to have you do that by yourself. You're just going to add both the stars. Now 14. What is the difference between the number of visitors in the age ranges younger than 18, so I'm looking for numbers smaller than 18, and the number of visitors in age ranges 18 and older. So this one's including 18. Okay, so here are my sections. So the first section is younger than 18, so it's everything above this red line. And the second section is everything below it. Okay, it wants to know the differences. So what you're going to do for this problem, okay, is that you're going to find how many people are in the section above, so the red section, and how many people are in the section in the green side. Okay, so add up your tally marks for each section and subtract them. Okay, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to add these 2 numbers together, and you're going to add these 3 numbers together. Add them up, and you're going to subtract them by each other. Okay? So if you're listening to the video, because I know some of you like to skip through this video, if you're listening, you should know what to do for these 2 problems. Okay? All right, next problem. Use the data to construct a scatter plot. So I'm also going to have you do this problem by yourself because we've already done maybe 2 or 3 like this. So, and we also had practice yesterday. So you should be able to do this by now. Okay, all you're going to do is go right and up, right and up, or run and jump, whichever you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to write that here. So this is how much you go right. So that means like this. And the second one is how much you go up. And obviously that means literally go up. Okay, and remember that every single row is a pair. So I'll do the first one with you. Okay, the first one says 230. So go right 2 and go up to 30. And it's right here. So anytime you finish a set, make sure you put a dot for it. And check it off so you make sure that you don't forget any of them. All right. Let's go to the next problem. So again, all my numbers are crazy. Like now we're back to 7, but obviously this is not our 7th problem. So just bear with us. 7. Mr. Moore gave his students a survey asking what they would prefer to do for after-school enrichment. The frequency table shows the results of this survey with one missing category. If Mr. Moore surveyed a total of 67 students, so they're already giving us how many total students that he surveyed. Which group of the tallies below represents the missing category? So obviously we are looking for what can go in here, okay? We know that to get all of this information, he asked 67 students total, okay? But our data doesn't show that yet. So we have to figure out how many people are missing, how much data is missing for the Dodgers game, the dodgeball game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count chess and checkers first. Let's count them. This is 5, 10, 15, 20. So write a 20. 20. Probably can't see that. Okay. All right, next one is 5, 10, 15, 16. This is 16. Drawing lessons is 5, 10, and that is 14. So what I'm going to do is add up what I know. I'm going to add every student that has been surveyed so far. So I'm going to do 20 plus 16 plus 14. Add what you know. And as you know, that's what the phrase says, add what you know and subtract from the total. So your total again is the 67 students. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to get 67. And whatever answer you get down here is what you're going to subtract right here. Okay. So add up your numbers first and then you will subtract it from your total, which should give you a number that is represented in one of these boxes. Okay, you have to figure out which box it's going to be. So again, I can't do everything for you. You have to make sure that you do problems by yourself. But again, I'm guiding you, so it should be easier because I'm not necessarily letting you out on your own. I'm still at least providing you with information on what to do. Okay, so once again, subtract after you have added, and you will see which box contains the correct tally marks. All right, next problem. The stem and leaf plot shows the number of cupcakes purchased by customers from Millie's Bakery over a couple of weeks. Use the data to answer questions 17 through 18. So they give us a stem and leaf chart, and let's look at our key. Our key tells us that a number slash another number means it's just a 2-digit number. Okay, so this is what we normally see. All right, so 17 says, what is the sum? Sum is a keyword too. Adding. What is the sum of the number of cupcakes from the 2 customers that purchased the greatest number of cupcakes? So we're looking for which numbers are the biggest. Okay, so again, always go to the biggest stem, which is 3. And when you put it together with your leaf, it gives you 36. So 36 is the biggest. Now remember, we are looking for the 2 customers that have the greatest number. So again, so you're going to go to the next biggest stem because we have number 3s. Now it's going to be 2 and go to the biggest 2, which is 8. So together it's 28. And we're finding the sum, so you're going to be adding those 2 numbers. So let's add that together. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So after you add them together, you get 14. Add 3 plus 1 plus 2, that is 6. So we get 64. Okay, let's go to our next problem. It says, customers that purchase at least 24 cupcakes receive a discount on their order. What fraction? So go ahead and box that. So we know that our answer has to be in fraction style. So we want to figure out how many people scored at least 24 cupcakes. So what that is telling us is that we have to make sure it's 24 and more. Okay, it cannot be less than that. So that is telling us it's this section right here. So when you're trying to figure out that number is you have to count your leaves. So let's count them. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is 4 people that have at least 24. So I'm going to write this down to the side, 4. And remember, the bottom number represents your total. So to find your total is you have to count all your leaves. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14 total leaves. Okay, so I'm going to scoot down a little. So now, obviously, we do not see 4 14s as one of our answer choices. So what we have to do is we have to simplify. So use your golden numbers. It's 2, 3, 5, 7. 2 can fit in both. If I count by 3s, it doesn't actually. If I count by 5s, nope. And if I count by 7s, it does go into 14, but it doesn't go into 4, so it doesn't work. So the only one that works is 2. So divided by 2. 4 divided by 2, figure out what that is. And 14 divided by 2, figure out what it is. So basically, guys, just cut it in half. Okay, and you should figure out if it's A, B, C, or D for that one. So all I gotta do is finish up my simplification. All right, last question. The list shows the number of points Dion's basketball team scored in each of their games. So they give us all of these numbers. It says, what number goes into the empty box to complete the stem and leaf plot representing the data? So I'm going to start you off, but I'm not going to give you the answer to it. Okay, so here's how I would do this problem. So I'm going to start with the first number. So in this case, I'm looking here. Okay, so I'm going to put 25 on the stem and leaf chart and make sure it's on there. So I'm going to go to my 20s, and I'm going to make sure it has a 25. So here's my 20s, and yes, it does have a 25. Okay, so 25. So that one's good. Mark it out. Next one is 40. So here's 40, and I'm going to make sure it has a 0, and it does. So mark it out. 32. I have 30, and I have 2. Yes, 32 is on there. Next one is 28. So here's 20, and here is 28. All right, so you go ahead and finish that off and see which one is missing from this box right here. So if it has a dot under it already, like I have already started, if it has a dot there already, that means you can't use it again. That means it has already been used. Okay, so you're going to figure out if your answer is A, B, C, or D. All right, and that is all for this video. Again, please make sure that you finish and finalize the ones that I have started off for you or let for you to do on your own. And after you're done, just turn it into your math bucket. And that is it.